There are clear signs that Russian economy is headed toward a collapse. Resources are being used to the maximum. This means they will be increasingly expensive for enterprises, and not everyone will be able to afford them. Prices are increasing, and the Russian central bank cannot stop them. Last week, according to Rosstat, inflation rose again, up to 0.37%. A week earlier, it was 0.30%. To slow down price growth, it is necessary either to stop economic growth and budget expenditures, infusions in the military-industrial complex, etc., or put up with inflation rates above the target, the Russian Academy of Sciences said. Only certain industries are growing in Russia, primarily machinery. In other words, what the budget pays huge amounts of money for and what goes to be destroyed in Ukraine is on the rise. This means that the money poured into industry does not bring anything to the economy except for the figures that are pleasant to the ear of the authorities. But even this growth has already been exhausted, as next year, GDP will increase by only 0.5 to 1%, and the growth rates of investments and private consumption may go to zero. The International Monetary Fund predicts that the Russian economy will slow down threefold, from 3.9% growth this year to 1.3% next year. This is 3.5 times less than in developed countries and 5 to 6 times less than in China or India. A total of 4,363 legal Russian entities were declared bankrupt in the first 6 months of 2024, which is 40% more than in the same period a year earlier. And this is with the declared economic growth of 4%. What will happen at the economic growth of 0.5%, as predicted by the central bank? Mass bankruptcies and the economy of the early 90s? Lots of tanks, nothing to eat? Destroyed Russian armored carrier, reportedly after a Baba Yaga bomber drone visited their position. The Pomsta Brigade drone operators destroyed 2 tanks, a BMP-2, an armored vehicle, artillery guns, 2 mortar positions, 3 vehicles, a UAV command post, a communication system, a generator, and 2 field ammo depots. Modern armies are designed around principles of sustainability, precision, and minimizing casualties. When faced with catastrophic losses, like the 2,000 daily casualties Russia has reportedly suffered in recent operations, most nations would reassess their approach or disengage altogether. Militaries in democratic nations, for instance, must maintain public and political support, which quickly erodes when losses become unsustainable or goals appear unachievable. The Russian military, however, continues its operations despite staggering losses. This persistence can be attributed to several factors. First, the centralized and authoritarian nature of Russia's political system enables the Kremlin to suppress dissent and avoid accountability for military failures. Second, the Russian military doctrine historically emphasizes attritional warfare, prioritizing quantity over efficiency and relying on large-scale mobilizations, as seen in both world wars. Lastly, Russian propaganda frames the conflict as existential, invoking patriotism and fear to justify ongoing sacrifices. In contrast, modern Western militaries operate under doctrines that prioritize troop preservation and operational precision, focusing on technology and intelligence to minimize casualties. Prolonged, large-scale losses like those experienced by Russia would likely force Western nations to negotiate, retreat, or redefine their goals. Russia's continued endurance in the face of such devastating losses underscores its reliance on authoritarian control and disregard for human costs. Russian media report that the ambassador of the United Kingdom was summoned to the Russian Foreign Affairs Ministry. Reason is unknown, probably regarding the use of the British Storm Shadow missiles.
What do you think about strikes given to Russia? About British strikes?
The US and G7 allies are finalizing the process of providing $50 billion in aid to Ukraine from revenues of frozen Russian assets. Attention, US, Great Britain, and France. Russian propagandist Mardon says Oreshnik is a direct threat to European cities and US Army bases, and adds, "These missiles are not made to with a conventional non-nuclear warhead. They will not stop at Ukraine."
And what happened in Dnipropetrovsk, Putin called a test under combat conditions, and this generally allows for interpretations as one sees fit. However it comes to mind, you can interpret it that way. Maybe we'll continue the trial, or maybe we won't. We'll see how it goes, as they say. But it's clear that such a system, and I'm referring to intermediate range and shorter range missiles, was part of a treaty from which the United States withdrew, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019 under Trump. Well, this is a demonstrative response. The withdrawal from the treaty on intermediate range and shorter range missiles is, of course, a direct and clear threat to the European countries that are in Belarus. Literally on the front line, they are taking the most active and involved role in this war on Ukrainian territory. This primarily concerns France and the United Kingdom, or Belarus. On the contrary, it's about the United Kingdom and France, but also about all the others. But accordingly, the system Oreshnik, which was demonstrated, so to speak, in Ukraine, reaches London and Belarus and Paris somewhere there in approximately 12 minutes. Yes, the modern anti-missile defense systems that are in service with these countries are, to put it mildly, insufficient to prevent. Will this strike be with a conventional warhead? I highly doubt it. These missiles are not made for striking with a regular non-nuclear warhead. And then, well, what comes next? Nuclear deterrence exists precisely for that purpose, to deter. Here is where we have arrived at the end of this week. As for the Americans, well, let's talk about them too. Where are the vulnerable areas of the United States of America? There are quite a few. A large number of American bases around the world are also very vulnerable. Much as the large fleets of the United States are actually an ideal target for modern hypersonic systems, as I already suggested, and many have spoken about this. If by the end of this war we do not see a burning and sinking American aircraft carrier, I will be very surprised.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.